Hello there, my name is Mark from EPS, English Power Solutions. I'm here today to talk about IELTS. IELTS is the International English Language Test System. There are several types of tests in IELTS. IELTS Life Skills is for British citizens, Australian citizens that have an overseas partner that they wish to bring into their country. That is a speaking and listening test combined. In the test, it is a formal interview with an examiner and another candidate. They will have listening files and then they have to have a discussion with the examiner and another candidate. But today I want to talk about the other test. That is IELTS Academic and IELTS General. Now, academic is for people who want to study in an English-speaking country. In general, are for those that want to work in an English-speaking country. But the speaking test is the same for both. So we're going to look at some handy hints today for the speaking test. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And I'm going to take you through my tips. So let's begin. So IELTS speaking test hints. Part one of the test. There's 3 parts in the test, and we're going to go through a little helpful points for each part. The main thing is be prepared and try to relax. You should be on time and prepared for the interview. Don't forget to take your ID with you. You'll need it. Normally it's a passport. The examiner is provided with a list of standardized questions to ask you and will conduct the interview in a manner that you might not be used to if you have not had some previous practice. The speaking subtext is a formal one-on-one interview and is the same for academic and general training models. Don't worry about the interview being recorded. The recording is made to ensure the examiner conducts the interview properly and is used to test your English. It's not used for that. It's purely if you feel there was a problem with the test or the examiner, they can go back and check the tape. Periodically, they check the tapes to make sure the examiner is doing the test correctly. The questions in part 1 are on subjects like your leisure activities, your hobbies, your interests, your hometown. First impressions, very important. You should reply with an answer that is informative and interesting as possible. Also, body language is very important, the same as in a job interview. How you walk in the room, shaking hands, how you sit. Be willing to talk and be positive. Do not simply reply yes or no to a question and wait for the next one. Remember, this is a test, it's your opportunity to shine. So you need to be speaking. Always sound positive, be confident. The examiner is looking for the following things: fluency and coherence. Does your speech flow? Can you easily be understood? Do you understand the examiner? When they ask you a question, can you reply to that question in a logical way? Lexical resources. This is the vocabulary, the words you're using. So do you use a reasonably wide range of vocabulary in your speech? Mostly linking words, and, but, because, however, for instance. How you tie your sentences together. This helps your flow when speaking. Synonyms, words with similar or the same meaning, so you're not repeating the same phrases. Grammatical range and accuracy. Do you use English grammar properly when you speak? Articles, prepositions, and tense are the main things they look for here. Pronunciation. Do you use English sounds, stress, intonation patterns correctly? Intonation, very important here. Make good use of the questions asked. If the situation was an ordinary conversation, it would be perfectly reasonable to answer some of the questions with a short 1 or 2 word answer, but this is not an ordinary conversation. Please remember that. So an ordinary conversation, you might have a question, where are you from? You might ask Germany, and then you'll get asked which part of Germany. So the questioner has asked a second question to get more details. In parts 1 or 2 of the IELTS exam, the tester cannot ask follow-up questions, okay, to find out information you should have given him or her first. Now, in part one, they do sometimes ask follow-up questions because they know you're nervous and they're trying to help you get into the exam and give you a chance to improve. But by part 2 and 3, you really need to be shining, but it's better to shine from the start. Show that you have a good skill. Formal IELTS interview would probably go more like this. Where are you from? Well, I'm from Germany, Hamburg. It's in the north of Germany and is a very busy city with a population of over 1.5 million people. But actually, I live about 15 kilometers out of town on a small farm. So the person's saying which country they're from, the city, the location of the city, how many people are in it. So it's more information. For me, I'm from Northampton. Northampton's 75 miles north of London. It's a very large town, almost like a small city. It's also famous in history for its racetracks, part it played in the English Civil War, and of course for a famous lady, Princess Diana, who's buried in the town. The examiner is listening for your level of fluency here, and hesitation does not help your overall score. So don't fall into the trap of trying to use large, fancy, complex explanations. In general, it's better to use simple vocabulary accurately, okay? Do not be afraid to correct yourself. If you feel you made a mistake, him when you meant her, change it. Do not take too long to answer. As soon as you've been given an answer, try and respond and reply to that answer, okay? Part 2, the examiner will ask you to talk in some detail about a particular topic. Talk in some detail about the topic referred to on the card you are given. It's a topic card or a cue card, they'll call it. The examiner will read you the cue card, give you a piece of paper, a pencil. You get 1 minute to make notes and you're asked to talk for 1 to 2 minutes here. Try giving an organized answer by following the instructions written on the card, and this will also help the examiner follow you talk more easily. Keep talking about the topic with no help from the examiner for at least 2 minutes. It is 1 to 2 minutes. If there's more people in the test center, it'll probably only be about 1 minute. And the examiner may stop you talking, so don't worry if they do this. It's not because you're doing badly. It might be because they want to move on. They've heard enough to gauge your skill. Speak with little or no hesitation for the time you're speaking. Try to be aware of how long you've been talking by practicing with a wristwatch before the test. Do not hesitate for too long in your answers. Do not be afraid to correct grammatical mistakes again. Do not expect the examiner to give you feedback on how well you performed in your talk. Read the card carefully, noting what the topic is. Stick to the topic on the card. If you go off topic, you lose marks. The examiner may or may not stop you from talking after 2 minutes, so aim to finish within the period of time. They might just stop you after 1 minute, or they may start asking you questions to lead you into part 3. Again, you should avoid giving a complex answer with difficult vocabulary. Increase your speaking speed by practice topic talking daily and by improving your pronunciation. So if you feel your talk is going too long, you can speed up. If you feel you're struggling for things to talk about, slow down so it drags on a bit. But don't make it sound boring if you slow down. The final part, part 3 of the speaking subtext, it is the most demanding part of the test. And although it is described as a two-way discussion, you will be expected to do most of the talking. You're doing about 70% of the talking here. The questions or prompts you must answer are linked to the topic you have covered in part 2. Don't forget There are many ways to express the future in English and try to avoid repeating the same word over and over again. I think, I believe, in my opinion, what I think is, as far as I'm concerned, I strongly believe that, in my view. Don't you think that? It seems to me that. If you ask me, I would say. So these are some expressions you could use to start your answer. Also, you could paraphrase the question. So what do you think education will be like in 50 years? I believe the future of education will be, and then you go on to give examples and explain. Concluding your interview. Remember to thank the examiner for his or her time and say goodbye. As you leave the room, don't forget to remain positive. The test is not over until that door's closed and you've left the room. The examiner might not yet have completely made up his or her mind about your score, and the final impression you make is important. Relax, remain in control right up until the end, the moment you're leaving that room. Shake hands confidently if the examiner offers to shake your hand, if you're invited to do so. Do not tell the examiner how relieved you are that the test is over, and there is no need to comment on your performance. Do not overdo friendliness at the end. Keep it very formal, very relaxed, very polite. Thank you so much for your time. It was lovely to meet you today. Goodbye. Just get up, walk out the room confidently, head held high. Don't just, oh my God, thank God that's over. That was so hard. No, bad. So keep it positive, confident, simple. Once you've left the room, the door's closed, then you can shrink and go, oh, that was horrible. Generally, it might be nerve-wracking, but it's not that bad. And it doesn't last for long. It's 15, 20 minutes, the test, so don't worry there. And do not ask the examiner for your band score. They will not tell you, they cannot tell you, and it'll arrive in the post within 3 weeks. Unless you did the application online now, I believe they can get it out to you within 5 days. So this is basically concluding my handy hints, tips for the IELTS speaking test. I hope you found this video useful, and watch out the EPS Power Solutions Facebook page, group, and our website for more videos to come. Thank you very much. Goodbye.